Critical Blast, where pop culture gets blasted.
And good evening. Here we are, or rather, here I am. We're going to keep it in the singular for the moment. Our guest has not yet arrived, but he is traveling. So he estimated he would be here by this time in his time zone. So we're going to chat for a little bit before he shows up. I have every confidence he's going to be there. Last communication we had was that this was a good time. So he's just running a few minutes late. In the meantime, there is something I need to grab. That's what I need to grab. Because we're going to be talking about this gentleman a little bit tonight. So that would be my library copy of Fables by, where's his name? Oh, right there at the top. Bill Willingham. Now, Bill Willingham is not the direct subject of our conversation tonight, but we are going to get to him, and we will get to him sooner rather than later, because here we have joining us live from Bleeding Pool, Mr. Chris Braley. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, RJ. How are you, buddy? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to loop this around my ear one more time, bring this mic a little closer to my mouth, because I've been getting a lot of feedback that says that I'm a lot lighter in volume than my guests are. So I want to
You sound good to me.
correct that. I want to sound good for everybody. I tell you what, I am excited tonight, and not even about what we're talking about, because I
Tell
just
me
got
what you're
the
excited
shipment
about,
notice.
RJ.
Tomorrow I get the author copies in for The Devil You Know to unbox and distribute to all our contributors for the anthology. So I will have some on a live unboxing stream tomorrow. So that is going to be months in the making. I want to go to the UPS center and just say, there's a box for me. Just give it to me now.
You're giddy. You sound giddy.
I am. So you have set the internet on fire tonight.
Oh, no. Did we break it?
I haven't checked to see if that's been broken. I just seen Twitter. Twitter's got, bigger servers. And
Everyone's a Twitter, aren't they? Everyone's a Twitter
today.
Are. That's nice.
It made me break out my copy of Fables.
Oh, Bill will appreciate that.
Well, it's not my only copy of Fables, but it's my biggest one. It's this giant library-bound edition.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
With a slipcase on it. You can read this thing all day long and not get to the end of it. But what we're talking about tonight is no fable. This is more like true crime.
You're quite the wordsmith, RJ.
I worked on it for hours. I've got to get it, just right.
I should have been working on some of these. I haven't even given it much. I got to tell you, RJ, thanks for being patient with me today. Today, of all days for this to drop, I've got a massive event tomorrow and Saturday that I'm producing. Bleeding Fool is not my bread and butter. And
I hear that.
I have got a lot of, after we get off here, I've got to work on the event timeline. But also today, my daughter is moving back into the local calling area, which is a treat for me. So of all people, the only sucker I could get to help me move today was my dad. And my dad's older than me, of course, naturally. And
usually works that way.
Yeah, well, he's got the truck. I've got a Jeep, but not a truck, and so and he drives his truck very slowly. It's got 459,000 miles on it, and he'll tell you that. He'll tell you that several times. He's quite proud of the fact that it's got that many miles, and
Yeah,
so
that's
it's been an ordeal. I've been at that since about 10 a.m. this morning, so I'm just getting home, and
I knew you were
just
on the
kind of
road a lot.
yeah, I
Uh,
was, and it rained and things didn't fit the way they should. We had to strap things down to the top of the by a tarp so it wouldn't. I mean, it was just tough,
so
tough day. But I did get tickled. I saw a lot of good feedback. Of course, I'm riding shotgun. The benefit of somebody else driving is you can at least check your phone. And I think I
absolutely,
texted. I didn't text you. I think we DM'd
we DM'd.
on Twitter. Yeah. And originally, excuse me, I'm trying to eat some almonds, so I know that's gross to eat on camera, but
You know, we have drinking streams. I almost,
oh,
but not quite, didn't have a chance to go up to the fridge and get myself a nice cold bottle of Bud Light. So I'm just
oh,
draining the
I
dregs of
need a
this
beer.
Diet
Yeah.
Coke.
That would be a good thing. I wish we could pause it and go get our cold beverages and then start the event. I can give you,
There's
I don't know
there's no
how long
reason why
these
we
things
can't.
typically go. There's not, is anybody watching? Nobody's watching right now, are they?
Three people,
Anybody there?
probably
Yeah,
one of them
okay.
you.
They would probably get upset with us if so.
Are you
I'll tell you
kidding?
what,
They would chat to the chair.
let's do it. Let's try an experiment. Why don't I go grab me a beer while you set up what happened today, and then I'll give you my spiel while you go get you a beverage, and then these
I like it.
your viewers aren't missing anything.
I like it. I like it a
You like
lot.
that? All right,
I
I will be
do.
right back. I'm gonna turn off my
And
camera while you do.
and while the viewers are here, I will also share with you something else you can do. We have these stickers, these 3.5-inch stickers that are hollow foil Critical Blast logo. If you would like one, all you have to do is send a self-addressed stamped envelope to our business offices here at Critical Blast at 1097 Prestwick Drive, Belleville, Illinois 62221. And I'll leave that up there so you can copy it down. These are 3-inch hollow foil stickers. We've got a lot of them, and we'd love to give you one. Probably even send you 2 of them if we aren't paying attention, because we figure if you give one to a friend, that just helps get more information out, and gets us a 2-for-1 kind of deal at disseminating these things and getting the brand out there. So if you want one of these things, just throw a stamp on an envelope with your address on it and throw it to that address, and we will all be good. Uh, but if you've been following Twitter today, then you know that Bleeding Fool has dropped the second part of the Whisper Network, and it's a loud, loud whisper this time around, because it's more than just people talking to each other. We've got implications here. Not even implications. We've got a flat out open police investigation into felony level charges, if I'm reading that correctly, with dollar amounts involved. So while I go on my beer run,
Yeah.
Chris will drop all that for you. And I'm
Well,
going
let
to
me
keep the
just.
Bluetooth headphones on, so I'll hear
Oh,
it all.
good. Okay, good. So if I tell anything out of turn, talk out of turn. You know, I don't
The
know.
show is
I
yours.
know. Good. I think a couple of weeks ago was the last time that we spoke, and at that time the first installment had come out, and I'd been approached by Penny, which is a pseudonym, obviously, and she actually had reached out to a couple of media outlets and had gotten her way into this secret group, a hidden group, one of those groups on Facebook that's not private. It's actually secret and hidden. You can't find it unless you're given a specific invitation by somebody else.
Well, I'll tell you, she didn't reach out to us.
No, or me. Or you have to be a woman. Or you have to be like Mags or somebody that identifies as a woman, and you have to be somehow affiliated with comic books. And whether it's in the industry or an editor or you're kind of tertiary to it. And then you have to be approved. So like if you or I were in it, we could invite somebody else in it, number one. So that would reveal that it exists. And then, nice. And then the moderators, which two of them were revealed in this installment. They have to approve that invitation. So you could invite somebody, but then the higher ups have to approve that, that's perfectly fine.
Perfectly normal.
I think I'm sure there are some groups that you're in, or there's some direct messages that you've given that you would prefer they didn't get out into the public ether. I know I have. They could be embarrassing, and unfortunately for these people, Penny's on a warpath right now. She's very upset with how a lot of these women have been conducting themselves, and it's really sort of detrimental to the industry. You know, again, yeah, this one we got a legend, a living legend, spoke out. He spoke out about this 5 years ago, and the story got completely buried. Not only was it not covered in most of the major news sites, none of them really. Matter of fact, I didn't even know about this. Did you know about this story?
I had no idea about it.
No. And the reason you had no idea that someone had ripped off, allegedly, had been credibly accused, I know I can say that,
Yes.
of a felony of over $10,000 of theft from a legend. Now, we all heard about when Stan Lee's manager was stealing from him, or when he was getting abused and so on. That was a big deal. Now, I know Willingham's not Stan Lee, but let me ask you, Arch, if that had been Gail Simone and not Bill, and a young man had embezzled money, and Gail, well, maybe he didn't embezzle, but Gail made a public accusation and sent it out as a press release in order to
tweet novel about it.
There'd be a movie.
Be a novel in tweets. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, and we would never hear the end of it. I mean, you know, we still hear about Eddie Braganza, who's a creep.
Yep.
But we hear about it because of the things that happened, the things that he did, the things that were said. The accusations were true. So we didn't hear it this time. Nobody heard about it. Nobody covered it. And I don't think they weren't covering it because over at CBR because it was a Comicsgate thing. I think Stephanie Cook is as far from being associated or affiliated with anything to do with Comicsgate, nor does she even represent it. And so
No.
Bill, you know, when I got this story from Penny, I'll give you a little inside baseball here. You know, we're waiting on the second installment, right? She said there's more.
Right.
And there's still more, just so you know. I know some things that I can't even tell you, RJ, because it would probably quench future stories if I told you what I know right now. We have to play our cards very strategically right now because they know we're on to them. You understand?
I imagine that group has to be shut down. They can't take the lease anymore.
Well, yep, something like that. I'll tell you this, there's more. More is coming.
Okay.
And but today's there was so much in today's. I mean, just the Bill Willingham stuff alone. To me, I thought when I first saw this, I thought that's all we need to talk about. That's the story.
That is the story, and that didn't even come out of the Facebook group. Now that seemed to be external to it. Is like, hey, while we're here, this person who's in here has this. So where did, since nobody heard about it, where did Penny pick up on this? And for those who are watching who are unaware why we're talking about Bill Willingham, why we're talking about Stephanie Cook, why we're talking about felonies, Bill Willingham has an open police investigation against Stephanie Cook when she was his assistant for having embezzled in excess of $10,000 of his money, which elevates that to the level of felony embezzlement. So there's an open police
it's actually
investigation
even if it were only $2,500, she could have done 5 years if she had been arrested in the States.
And I imagine the only reason she hadn't been charged is because she has basically fled the United States. She's crossed the Canadian border back into Canada.
And she lives in Toronto now. And she was from Toronto, so maybe she just went back because she was getting homesick. I don't know. But the fact is that when I read that story, to me, that was the story. The story was, here are these women who are constantly going on and on about men and there needing to be transparency and complaining about the money and the pay and on and on. You saw what Penny showed and how she put it
Yes.
together. If you haven't, I'm going to leave it as the main story until tomorrow. So anybody that hasn't been to bleedingfool.com, please check it out. Leave your comments.
And the link is right down there. It's the very first link in our description.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So when I saw it, I thought, okay, this is salacious. This is criminal. This is big. I've never heard of this. So I did a little legwork. And I thought, I need to reach out to Bill directly. That's who I need to ask. Right. And I did. And it took a couple of days. But Bill luckily follows us on Twitter. So his DM was open to us. And he responded. I didn't put everything that was exchanged with us in there. But suffice to say that Bill, he's still kind of beating himself up over it. He made it too easy for her to do it. He still insists that she did it. A case was open. And if she comes back into that town or anywhere near him, he'll have her arrested. There's no doubt about it. And she can prove her innocence or they'll have to prove her guilt. But he is adamant that he has enough evidence to prove his claims. And why would Bill Willingham come out publicly and say that if he didn't? He wouldn't. As a matter of fact, he admitted he was embarrassed at the time to really say anything. But once he saw that she was soliciting her services to other people in the industry, he just said, I got to say something.
Yeah, because they'd be the next in line.
Yeah, exactly. In other words, the things that, and this is what I thought was hypocritical. So here's Bill, a victim, right? He's been betrayed, abused, and victimized. And then you can see the deleted tweets, how Stephanie is calling him names and not really calling him names, but saying, I can't believe how he's acting on my birthday and on and on.
Right.
And go on.
Yeah, he had to speak out when he saw that she was going to be working with other people to prevent it from happening to someone else. This is exactly what women in comics get praised for when they talk about someone who's a sexual predator.
Right.
I knew this happened to me. I was going to be quiet about it because I felt ashamed. But then I saw that he was going to be working with her, so I had to speak up. And now I'm typing this Twitter screed about what he's done to me and how he made me feel. Well, this is a different kind of crime, but it's still a crime, and Bill Willingham's still a victim of it. And I'm going to have to assume that somewhere along the way, people are going to ask for documentation of this. Bill Willingham's word on the matter is not going to be enough. They're going to say, well, where's the police report? Because we've seen that with Peter Samedi and stuff. People
well, they can go digging. Bill insists it's there. I took Bill's word. I took him at his word.
Sure.
And of course, Bleeding Cool did also. Otherwise, they wouldn't have published it. Now, the question remains is why was it published and then erased?
Is that, has anyone tried to pull that from the Internet Archive?
When we went to archive it, there weren't any previous archives of it.
Okay.
If you'll notice throughout the article, pages have been archived. That one in particular has been archived. And I thought, because it wasn't archived at all, and when I went, I thought, we got to archive this. Because I would not put it past Rich to republish it with maybe an edit here. I mean, who knows? I don't know.
Sure.
But as of this date, and for many years now, it's been gone. Now, Mimi Cruz from Night Flight Comics, of course, she came out, defended Bill, insisted that Stephanie should pay restitution. I think that Ethan came up with kind of a funny hashtag. I don't know if you heard his reading of it today, but he calls her Stephanie
I heard
Crook.
some of his reading. Yeah, Stephanie Crook. I have heard people refer to her as that. And one thing that we should bring up with the fact that Bleeding Cool had an article up about Stephanie Cook's alleged or accusations of embezzlement from Bill Willingham, and that article is down, that also writing for Bleeding Cool, I almost said Critical Blast, that didn't happen, also writing for Bleeding Cool at that time was Alex DeCampi.
Another Whisper
who
Network.
who is
alumni.
very prominent in the Whisper Network.
Mm,
Was first to sort of speak out after your first article came out.
yeah. You notice
So
who
it's
else spoke out really early with that last article was Miss Amy Chu.
yes,
I'm going to say
yes,
this for the
who
record. I'm a huge fan of Amy Chu. I picked up her entire Red Sonja run. I thought it was brilliant. I like the idea of the fish out of water. I mean, it's an old
yeah,
trope, and they'd already done it with Conan back in the Bronze Age. But it was fun, and Amy is a talented writer. Having said that, though, Amy is as approving of this sort of behind the scenes, this collusion of this smack talk that they're doing about Scott Snyder. If you go, so this version was like in three parts, right? So
right,
you had sort of Penny kind of recapped it. What is this? Is it real? What's the fallout? Now let's get into it. And the first thing I want to talk about is one of the very active Whisper Network people, and that's Stephanie. Did you happen to know that they've buried stories about Stephanie while she's out constantly attacking people and talking about transparency? Let's do a little transparency exercise on Stephanie Cook. And of course, she did that. We brought receipts. We even got Bill to give us an updated report on it. And that story's nowhere. I mean, you can Google it.
yeah,
That story is nowhere. And we dug and dug. And that was the thing. In addition to going after Bill, I wanted to dig to see if anybody else had reported it whatsoever. And nope, not even the Beat, who did that interview. And I thought that was how fortuitous that someone had left a comment 2 years ago on that interview. Hey, whatever
yes,
happened to that embezzlement thing? That ever get resolved? And the comments are now closed at the Beat. So Heidi McDonald, who runs and did that interview with Stephanie Cook,
who's a
not
member of the
only is
Whisper
she,
Network.
that's right, also another member of the Whisper Network. And isn't it interesting that Comics Pro, that retailers group, they had an embezzlement thing happen only 9 months earlier, and she thought that was newsworthy, but not Stephanie
Yeah,
Cook's. Now, why is that? Is it because it was a girl? I can't think of any other reason. It's either nepotism or the he-man or the she-woman man-hating club. Or what was it from the Little Rascals? He-Man woman haters club.
the,
So
yeah,
the
the He-Man
she-woman
Woman Haters Club.
man-haters club, man-haters.
That would have to be it. Yeah,
Yeah.
they call that
I don't know
misanthropy.
why she got that sort of favoritism, but not only that, if Heidi McDonald's not going to ask about it or report it, and Rich Johnson, he might report it, but somehow he decided, oh, I better pull that.
Well, again, did he pull that or did Alex DeCampi pull it?
Oh,
Because she
wow.
was a
Yeah, good
writer on
question.
the staff at that time.
Well, maybe Rich
Who
will
knows
step
what
up.
kind of
Maybe
editorial
Rich will
power
speak
she had?
out. That's true. I didn't even think of that. And there's a woman. Isn't there a woman editor now over there? Didn't
I
Rich
have
get
no
in some
idea who the
trouble and
editor
now
is
they have a
leading forward.
female editor?
I remember that he kind of stepped down and somebody else stepped up because he dared to interview Vox Day, I believe it was.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah,
And the guy that and the gal that took over was one of their worst movie reviewers, as I recall. I haven't been on the website in a few years, but she was terrible. I mean, every hot take she had was awful. But it's all relative.
well, it's definitely should be the hottest part of the article that dropped today, the new Whisper Network revelations. I think it carries a lot more weight than the second part, which was, of course, all the anticipated targeting of Scott Snyder, who's heavy with the Justice League titles right now over at DC.
Yeah, and you know what? I was going to get into that too. Since there were so much this time, and there's really three parts. The main course is the embezzlement charges, right? To me, that's the main course of it is
Exactly.
not just the charges, not just the updated. I mean, Bill telling us this a few days ago, confirming it and giving a new statement about it, but the fact that it was covered up in the media, right?
Yeah.
So it's the story, and then the fact that the story was not reported. If you think about it, sometimes it's what's not reported that's really the news. You know
Sure,
this.
sure.
So
Yeah. Well, there's
that's your main
that
story.
meme that's out there.
Right.
You've seen the meme of the camera that's focused on a guy killing somebody with a knife, and what's focused in there makes it look like the other guy is killing the other guy. Uh,
Yes,
it's
that's
all
yeah,
switched
I
around
love
because
that.
what
Yeah,
you get to
that's
see.
so clever. Yeah, exactly. And then of course the Scott Snyder thing. I think we're just kind of warning Scott. You know,
Yeah.
Scott took the pledge, and Scott's anti-Comics Gate. And would anti-Comics Gate warn a Comics Gate affiliate of something looking like it might happen to them?
Oh,
Do you think it would happen the
well, they
opposite direction?
haven't.
No.
They
Of
haven't
course not.
before.
Unless you count a few trolls that say, "Watch out, whomever, they're gonna come out, they're gonna turn on you," you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But they don't bring receipts like this, and Penny had the receipts and is showing what's going on. So what we probably did in that second part with Scott is probably diffuse the situation that was happening. Scott is safe now that this story has come out. I feel that
I hope so.
any efforts that were headed towards hurting Scott Snyder will be pushed aside. I would be very surprised if they try to launch any further attacks on Scott. I think we've stopped that.
And the funniest thing is that the biggest complaint they had against him that I saw was that, God, the guy likes to talk. Uh,
He's
and
a
what's funny
writer.
about that is that, yeah, it's 2 weeks ago when we had our last LCS guys show. We had Larry Doherty join us from Larry's Comics, and he had mentioned that I think it was he that mentioned. I'm not sure now which of the whole stories. One of the guys on our show had mentioned that they had done a tweet about how many of the Scott Snyder issues of a book they had bought for that week's Wednesday. It was a special issue, and Scott called the store and to thank them for doing that kind of a deal, and stayed on the phone for 4 hours until closing. They had to hang up on him to,
Wow.
to close the store down. So I was like, yeah, that's in line with what I heard about Scott. The man likes to talk your ear off when he gets you talking. So apparently that's
great.
just too much for them.
Mm. Well, it's not just that. I mean, one of the patterns that we've seen in the Whisper Network is they just like to complain and whine and woe is me and look at how awful it is that I've got the. I mean, let's think about this situation. Could you imagine if I was trying to make a name for myself in the comic book industry, and I said to you, "Oh my gosh, Mike Barron, he's really wearing me out. Oh my gosh, this guy's, come on, man. I like Mike. Mike's super cool. I'm
Had Mike on the
enjoying
show many
working on
times.
him with Florida Man. Yeah, we've got that going, so I've got that I'm dealing with. That ends Sunday, by the way. If you haven't backed it yet, I hope you will.
I'm in,
Thanks.
already there.
Appreciate that. And so the Scott Snyder thing, I think really what we did was we stopped the future. You know what I mean? We saw the future happening and said, we're going to stop this now. But I think it's important to note, and this is sort of the tease of what's coming up next. We revealed that Amy Chu is not only Amy Chu, but the editor-in-chief at Oni Press. They are the admins of this group.
Is
They are the
Darth
ones
Vader
that
hanging over your
decide.
shoulder?
Huh? What's that? Where? Right
Is
here?
Darth Vader hanging over your shoulder? I'm getting this.
Really?
I don't know where it was coming from, but every once in a while it's just like he's walking past you. There's this
Oh,
penalty
I'm very
sound.
sorry. Might be my breathing technique. It's how I stay alive. I don't know.
Well, it was while you were talking, so I didn't know how you could be doing it.
Really? Oh my goodness. What's going on here? I'm very sorry. I hate to mess things up. One of the things
Audio is
I
always
do,
something on our show.
I do video production, and I've told people video production, the quality is important, but your viewers will turn it off quicker if the audio is bad.
Yes,
If the
they will.
video looks ruined, they won't stick around. But if the audio is good and the video's they'll stick around. They want to hear what people want. Stories. People want what's being told. They want what you're trying, the message, right? So as long as they can decipher the message with ease without any pain. So I'm sorry if I've encouraged any bad audio.
Nah, we can hear you just fine. It just sounded like something was in the background. I was like, what is that?
Maybe I should look. No, All clear.
Because it's only intermittent, and it's definitely an up and a down rhythmic thing, like somebody breathed in and breathed out right in your microphone.
Oh no, is the Whisper
Heavily,
Network in
deeply.
here?
Oh, they're whispering.
Gosh.
I've wondered how much control they have over the internet, because I've been doing some digging into other people over the past couple of years, and every time I try to share a link with people to check a timeline, it's like I'll try to paste it in a DM to Twitter, and it's like Twitter says, nope, you can't paste that. I'm like, it's just a link. I pasted other links. I can't paste this link. So a little Alex Jonesy there on you, but I managed to get the links out later on. I don't know what Twitter was doing at the time.
It's fun to be Alex Jonesy sometimes, isn't it?
Sometimes.
Turning the frogs gay.
I had my Alex Jones moment last night. If you caught any of the show we had.
No, I didn't. Tell me what happened.
We were talking about the Jay Lee Tom King blow up online here. Yeah. And it came to me, and I've got other people now looking at the same thing, that Tom King's message about Jay Lee doing the alternate cover for Rorschach, yes, he was referencing Jay Lee's Cyberfrog cover that he did 6 months ago, but that I don't believe was the reason for this. Because if you look at the events of last week, what happened? We saw Nick Barucci at Dynamite put out an alternate cover for a Vampirella, and everyone kind of went nuts about it, because it was a Cecil's cover for a Comicsgate. Yeah. And they were like, oh, you're putting out a Comicsgate cover. This is bad. So we had Mark Russell, who said, I'm not going to work for Dynamite anymore. Well, his contract was up. He wasn't going to work for Dynamite anymore.
Let me stop you right there. Mark Russell, I know I've got friends that like his work. I hate his work. I don't care. Get out of here.
Not crazy about his work. That had a,
yeah. And Gail Simone, when was the last time she did it? When was the last time Gail Simone did any work for Dynamite?
I don't know what she was on right now, but I know she was doing a charity project for
a Humble Bumble or something. Humble
Bundle.
For
retailers. She backed out of a charity for retailers, so she actually saved the Dynamite money for that.
So let's dissect that for 1 second. I don't mean to interrupt you. I want you to finish your story, RJ. But so Gail Simone loves retailers so much that because Nick Barucci would associate with anybody tertiary to the Comicsgate movement, F the retailers. I'm out, because my pride is far too important for me to have anything to do with retailers. I'm gotta prove a point. Gail Simone, shut up. Do the comics, do the work, help people out. Do you know how many times I've had to swallow my pride just to make sure that the mission was accomplished? That's the point. The point is to accomplish the mission. Why did you even do it? A virtue signal? No, exactly. Yeah, no kidding. The point is, these comic companies are trying to make money, but when you're doing something for charity, you're not doing it for money, and you're not doing it because your publicist thinks it'll be good PR. And if you are, hey, whatever, go on, Gail. You know what? See ya. Don't care. Yeah. I can't think of anything Gail Simone has written in the last 10 years that I care about. So, sorry.
Exactly. Well, no, that's fine. It's good. Inform the story. But anyway, all the people who were backing out of Dynamite were not making Dynamite any money. No. So, who cared? It got to a point where Dynamite was bugged enough that they said, okay, you know what, we're not going to do the cover because a lot of people were angry. Those people didn't make money for Dynamite. You know who makes money for Dynamite? Jay Lee makes money for Dynamite. Jay Lee does covers for Sacred Six. Jay Lee does covers for Vampirella. So Scott Snyder says, hey, I'm mad at Jay Lee for something he did 6 months ago, knowing full well he's not on Twitter, knowing full well the hate mob would find him, knowing full well Jay Lee would get obsessed, and incensed rather, not obsessed, a totally different verb, and upset about it. So Jay Lee is like, I'm not associated with any hate movement. I don't believe in hate. I don't want to have this hate movement stain on me. Who do you think Jay Lee probably called? Nick Barucci. Says, hey, everybody's calling me a hater because I have done covers for these people that, and they're directing me at you. I don't want to be called a hater. What do you think Nick Barucci probably does? He's like, you know what? We want to keep you doing the covers that sell for us, because that makes us money. We're going to disavow Comicsgate, which is, they put out that denouncement.
That wasn't quite good
got
enough.
published.
Wasn't quite good
well,
enough
never,
for.
it will never be good enough because you've already got one comics news outlet that already said, hey, it's not good enough because look, here's Dynamite's sales page, and they're showing, Black Flag from Dan Fraga is on there.
Yep.
Pretty soon they'll be targeting Billy Tucci, so Billy, watch out.
Oh, sure. Billy, watch
all
out.
the other, so it's not, they want Dynamite to go away so that they can then erase Dynamite from ever having existed. And I would not be a bit surprised if they're already in talks with different IP holders to, give them the skinny on this hate group that the person they've licensed their properties to is associated with.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Okay. What is Dynamite known for? Sexy covers, right?
Yes.
Red Sonja, Betty Page, you name it, Deja Thoris.
Oh, yeah.
J. Scott
Even
Campbell
cosplay
does
covers.
Yeah, right. J. Scott Campbell, Vampirella. J. Scott Campbell does a cover. Oh, that's too sexy. He's so sexualized. Art Germ. Oh, it's so sexualized. Right. Look, Dynamite's on brand when they're not appealing to the SJWs.
Yes.
The fact that Nick Barucci would bend the knee to people like Gail Simone, who, they've got a great relationship. Gail, how many years did she write Red Sonja? Apparently, it's a much heralded run. I think Amy Chu's run was better. But I go all the way back to Frank Thorne days, Marvel days. So my discernment of what makes a good Red Sonja story may be different than others. Apparently, Gail's was critically acclaimed, but she hasn't done anything that I'm aware of that's worth reading. And
the only Red Sonja I've seen her do was the I'm sorry, not even Red Sonja. I think she did the Wonder Woman Conan crossover where she.
That's right. That's the most
Conan.
recent thing, and I do have that because I'm a huge Conan fan. I can't help it.
It'd been great if he showed up in the book.
You know what? I got to be honest with you. I read the first one and just left the other three in the cellophane or in the Milo. I have them. And I'm one of these cats that I'll buy the floppies and then I'll decide if I want to buy the collect edition. Then I'll take the floppies, give them away, sell them, trade them, whatever. And that's one that I didn't get the trade. I didn't get the hardcover. You see over there, I've got a bookshelf full of collected editions, but I mean, I'm sure we all do. But yeah, Gail doesn't work for me. I know she works for some. And listen, art's relative. Writing's relative. Some people like Harry Potter books. I'm not into them. So I'm not trying to throw Gail under the bus. What I don't like about Gail is the virtue signaling, the politics, and the projection, and just labeling people writ large with Comicsgate as if it means hate. And the only people I'm seeing that aren't tolerant, the only people I'm seeing that like to spread hate are your people who are anti-Comicsgate. I mean, I've seen some of the most vile things being said about anybody associated with that tag, whether they're tertiary to it, whether they're an ally of it, whether they're like us and just try to give them a fair shake. Because definitely I agree with many of the tenets of Comicsgate as far as the overabundance of identity politics that are being played, a lot of writers that are being hired to do work not based on merit, but just because of their identity. And even the gender swapping and race swapping of legacy characters and really just trashing the legacy. For Marvel Comics to have ever thought that coming out with the new Warriors that they started to launch a couple of months ago. I mean, we are so far afield from Stan Lee and Jack King Kirby's vision of comic book heroics. We've let these Portland social justice warriors take over, and it's an embarrassment. I mean, I'm almost embarrassed to say that I give any 2 cents about comics. Thank God in heaven for independent creators and the Indiegogos and the Kickstarters.
Well, the good thing is that most normal people don't know all this stuff is going on in comics anyway. So if you tell a normal person, I'm into comics, they think you have a Superman and Batman and Spider-Man collection. They don't They don't know anything
right.
about all this other stuff.
You're right. You're right. But even then, when you tell them that, oh, no, Thor's Lady Thor or whatever, right? I mean, it
Yeah.
gets all the way up. And now what's happened is the movies are going to begin to emulate the recent identity politics stuff that you saw in the comics. That's why Captain Marvel's getting such a huge push, even though the movie didn't really do as well as they want you to think. As a matter of fact, um, the what's going on with Thor 4, what's going on basically in the MCU, when the Eternals comes out, there's a whole lot of identity politics in that. And then on the other side, you've got Ava DuVernay doing the what is the book or the movie she's doing for DC Comics, not Eternals, but the New Gods.
Oh, yeah.
And she's
Yeah,
totally into identity politics. So it's making its way from the comics to the movies much faster because it's agenda driven. These people that didn't grow up reading comics don't really care about comics. I think they just kind of saw it as a gateway to be able to get in and mess with us. I mean, I don't really know what they're trying to do.
If you want to proselytize people with a message, the best way to feed it to them is through their entertainment.
Sure. And I think that when it's obvious to most of us, but I keep hearing this thing, oh, we can't criticize marginalized people. We need to create more opportunities for marginalized people. And I'm like, well, if these people are what qualifies marginalized, they're not going to be the majority, right? So it's like we should have naturally, organically, the majority should be whatever the majority is, and the minority should be whatever the minority is. The marginalized should be whatever the marginalized. If you want to have representation of as many diverse voices as possible, that's certainly fine. But I think that most of these people that are running the show, or at least influencing the editors, like Tom Brevoort and guys like that, they're totally against anything that might. I mean, do you think there are any Republicans working for Marvel Comics? Do you think there are any Republicans working for DC Comics?
Other than that Perlmutter.
Well, yeah, Ike, but he's at the top, right?
Yeah.
Like the capitalist that he probably wants to be. But the thing is you've got guys that seem very soy, very weak, not leaders, like Jim Lee at DC and CB Cebulski. Can you think of any two more low T leaders? And you know what I mean when I say low T.
Yeah.
Can you think of any two? I mean, at least Dan DiDio was not low T. I didn't care for the way he was running things. But Jim Lee just seems completely out of touch. He almost seems like a puppet. I don't know who.
I think Jim Lee is just quiet.
Okay, maybe.
Because when Dan DiDio left, we ran an article that says, okay, who's going to take over publishing in DC Comics? Like somebody needed to. And, there were a few people that said, hey, they had two and Jim Lee is still there. And nobody thought, yeah, but he's just figurehead. And Jim didn't issue any kind of a statement about when the comics were pencils down or anything like that. But if you look at what they've done while he's been not issuing statements and drawing charity pictures for stores and raising money for them, what did he do? He found a way around the Diamond stoppage. He went with somebody else. He didn't give two craps about what people said about him. And DC Comics started coming out. Well, what happened? Diamond says, we can't ship till August. DC's shipping in May. Yeah, we can ship in May. Yeah, no problem. We'll get May shipments out. But DC has broken the bottleneck that stopped, the comic industry in its tracks when Diamond went down. It looks like he's basically taken back on the G5 or 5G or whatever it was going to be called.
Yep.
And that's, gone with the wind. We're not going to see that anymore. I'm optimistic about Jim Lee's leadership now. I don't know. Maybe I'm just wanting to see the best, but he's quiet about it if it's good.
I'll give you this, and I've got retailer friends that are not pleased with the arrangement with Luna and DCBS and handling the distribution. They've had problems, lots of problems, lots of FOC issues, lots of missed deliveries. There's been a lot of problems, and which of course could be chalked up to growing pains. I get that.
Right.
I think Jim. I mean, anything in my mind was better than where DiDio was taking it. Okay,
Yeah.
so Lee is the better option. Having said that, though, and I like Jim Lee, love his art, love that he was doing the charity stuff. I don't love that Jim Lee has not spoken up and said something as the leader. I think Jim should have said something about how they're going to take care of retailers. I think Jim should have spoken up about the new direction of the company. And
Yeah.
Lee hasn't done that. To me, Lee is really not any better than Cebulski. I don't think Cebulski's the one that writes the press releases about what they're doing for retailers. And most of the time when I look at Cebulski's Twitter feed, it's about food. And that's not a fat joke. That's just the truth.
No, it's just, yeah. 'Cause
So,
they did that show with Marvel Cooking or whatever.
yeah. Oh my gosh, what a joke. Let me tell you who the person I see as the leader of Marvel Comics is Sana Amanat.
Yes.
She's a leader. I mean, she's taking it by the balls. So if she approves, literally, she may have to battle a little bit with the editors, but I think Sana Amanat is the de facto leader of Marvel Comics. I think Cebulski's just a figurehead. I don't think he's got the courage or the strength to stand up to her. She's strong-willed.
That would explain the direction Marvel Comics is taking. I mean, we may not like the direction it's going, but she's definitely leading it.
No, I just give her credit as the leader. I mean, and it's interesting that they don't give her that sort of title, but she is I think she's the head of creative at Marvel, isn't she?
Yeah.
What's her title these days?
Oh, I don't know it off the top of my head exactly, but it's definitely a director level. And
well, I think she's the leader. I don't really know who's running the show at DC, but I don't think it's Lee. I think Lee is more of a figurehead also because of who he was, because he's a fantastic artist. And my information shows that 38-year-old Sana Amana is just an editor, but I'm pretty sure she's more than that.
Yeah. I thought
She's
so
far
too.
more than an editor. Yeah, Wikipedia is a joke. So, sorry. But I'd like to see leadership out of Jim Lee. I'm not seeing it. Now, some moves are being made, some savvy business moves. That could be just corporate suits. It's AT&T. They're going to figure out how to make money. And they might have just said, how do we get these books out? We're not going to just let them sit here and deteriorate.
Right. Because AT&T is like, none of our other products are not being delivered. We're still making phone calls. Of course, they did close their stores. So.
Well, and I think a lot of this is on Steve Jeppy. One of our contributors, Avi Green. I love Avi. He's been griping about the stranglehold that Diamond has had on the comic book industry for years, literally years. If you want to go OG Comicsgate, it's Avi Green. As a matter of fact, if you do an internet search for the hashtag Comicsgate, the first person to ever use it was Avi Green. And he used it like back in 2014 or something. So it's totally unrelated to Jawbreakers or, those people that were conspiring to get Richard Meyer.
John Della Rose.
Yeah, or John Della Rose. Yeah, it was before Preston got his copyrights, all that. Many years ago. And Avi Green has been just hammering Diamond for a long time. So he praises DC's move. And, but just like you, we talked about this last time we were on. I have writers that have contrary opinions.
Sure.
And that's cool. I like contrary opinions. I don't really vet them. How do they vote and all that kind of stuff? Because I don't care. I mean, at the end of the day, it's my fault if it got published, right? But sometimes I just think, let's let this go out there and see what people think. Let's see if it gets some discussion started. And sometimes I've put things out that I'm not necessarily diametrically. I don't want to be hyperbolic about, putting something out that I just don't like. But sometimes I'll put something out there that it's not really what I agree with, but the writer believes that. And I'm happy for the discussion to be had, right, in the comment
Yes,
section or whatever.
Yeah,
I
discussion's
don't,
good for a website, whether you like it
yeah,
or not. It's
sure. And the moderators will get in there and take care of anybody that's being just a jerk. But and you know this already. Some articles catch fire, start a bunch of discussions, lots of comments, and some that you're thinking maybe that'll start a discussion. Nobody even comments on it. It totally gets ignored. I think sometimes that's just timing, right? The article comes out while Tom King is treating Jay Lee as a whipping post or something.
Yeah, the things that I find are successful are always niche posts,
Hmm.
because we do a lot of reviews, and if the very hottest movie comes out, like when Harry Potter movies were coming out, and I would get like an advanced screening, I'd put that sucker up. We'd get a blip, but
Yeah.
we're one of 1,000 other sites that are doing it, and guess what? Time Magazine's going to rank a little higher than us,
Hmm.
so most of the traffic's going to go that way. But when an independent film that hits like 30 theaters across the United States and has an actor in it that has a small but ardent following, every single one of those followers is going to come to your site. And if that's like 10,000 people, they're going to share it with their friends, and we'll get a bigger spike off something nobody cares about because somebody cares about it,
Oh
than we
yeah,
will something
that's a
that
good
everybody
technique.
cares about.
Well, that's a good approach. I think that happens a little bit too with our indie comic showcase, right? These cats are trying to get some attention to their projects that they're crowdfunding, and or that they've already got up on Amazon that you can buy, and they share it
Oh
with their
yeah,
friends and so on. But if we just do a review of the latest Miss Marvel, so I mean, you can go anywhere for that, right? And
exactly.
this same thing with movie reviews, at least the big ones. But I indulge our writers too. I mean, if they just caught the advanced screening of the next Star Wars and they want to review it, of course. I mean, it's content's
You still
content.
get
It just
hits.
might not be worth, or I shouldn't say worth because there's worth to all of them, but they just don't catch fire. And to me, it's exciting when an article catches fire. Uh, and gets a lot of discussions going,
You
and
log into
actually,
Stat Counter and you watch it time by
I
time.
don't use Stat Counter. I use what do I use? Google Analytics, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah. I had a good friend of mine. I'm starting to look at some new things with the website, and I'm really getting some good advice from somebody that I've admired for years. That to me, this is one of the cool things about uh, being in this field of geek entertainment media. There's so many people, like, today, Mike S. Miller did an interview with Dean Kane,
Yeah.
the guy that played Superman. So, and he's doing that because he's featuring Dean in a political parody comic as his Superman character.
In the
And
Magnificent Seven.
yeah, the Magnificent Seven. Yeah, we
Yeah.
featured that last one, yesterday actually. And I just think that's so cool when being a part of this industry, even at a small degree, for us, Bleeding Cool, that's the beer talking. So for Critical Blast, Bounding into Comics, Bleeding Full, One Angry Gamer, uh, The Splintering, I mean, there's all these websites and information hubs that are giving it to you straight or giving you opinions that have not been approved by the corporate media or even giving it to you maybe from the right side of the aisle, which you're not getting that anywhere. I promise you, Screen Rant is never going to do an
Yeah.
article from a conservative Christian point of view. I absolutely will bet you my house deed there will never be any, or for and you won't find that at the Mary Sue or any of these other websites that people are going to for opinion or for entertainment news. But we do, right? And I'm not saying everybody that writes for me is a right wing Christian either. Trust me, they're not. But at least that voice is tolerated in our site and even amplified, I might say. So I think that we are beginning to offer a niche, just like you mentioned with your article, with an indie movie. We're offering a niche that isn't out there. It's almost a desert out there. And I wonder if that's ever going to change. Are we always going to have marginalized voices? Because if there's anyone that's lifting marginalized voices, I'd say it's us, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that I'm constantly encouraged by the people that are that respond to like the articles that came out today. Are fans of, I'll hear uh, one of these YouTubers say something like, yeah, we need to support these sites. We need to support these sites. And it always encourages me to be included in that roundup of websites that are bringing those sorts of marginalized voices, giving voice to these people, these indie comic creators, these indie film makers, these people who have opinions that really, if you ask me, like today, for instance, and I've got to look on my phone for this image, so I won't be able to necessarily share it right away with everybody. But I saw somebody shared with this with me on Screen Rant, and today's big push by Marvel was on Screen Rant, and it was Marvel's new Empire event is a gay space opera. Um, and it's clickbait, and they're just trying to get some sales, and Hulkling is gay, and we get it. But is that how we sell comic books now? I mean, would would we want to say that it's a straight space opera? I mean, is
Mm.
the sexuality the selling point? Really? I mean, is that where we're reaching for, right? Uh, Skin tone, identity politics, sex, gender, and all that. That shouldn't really be how you're pushing your big event, and unfortunately, it is. And that's a headline on Screen Rant. It was up 8 hours ago. And if you're like me, you get shared these crazy headlines from the shill media all day
Right.
long. And literally, maybe we could go in together, RJ, and come out with something like The Onion that does nothing but mock this entertainment geek media that we're part of, like Screen Rant.
It's such a mockery already. I don't know what we could add to it. I mean, I have to write novels for my publisher, Destroyer Books. When I do the Remo Williams novels, they're meant to be satire of
Yeah.
pop culture and politics. I'm telling my publisher, Devin Murphy, I'm like, I'm running out of things to make fun of because it's already so blatantly ridiculous that how can you take that up a notch to say I'm making fun of something like this? I mean, it's it's already laughable.
When
And
we
you
saw
can't believe it.
Snowflake, it is. When we saw Snowflake and Safe Space come out from Marvel, I literally was not convinced it was real. I literally thought they're trolling. This is a gag. This can't be for real. And of course it was. And
Well,
somebody,
Marvel's taken the piss out of everybody lately. They did it with New Warriors. They did it with those Wednesday covers because I had the retailers on the LCS Guy show last week were saying we did not realize that those images they showed in Previews magazine were the actual images. We thought, okay, they're not showing the image. It's not ready for print yet. We're going to get a cool alternate cover, and they got Wednesday in block letters on the front of a comic book that the cover was printed in basically toilet paper quality.
oh my
So,
goodness.
so they were unhappy at the very least. Um, but back to the article that we were actually
Yeah.
here, talking about. You said there was a third part, and I know the third part. Um, and I'm knowing that this was a secret Facebook group. I'm guessing that screenshots of these conversations did not get out in time to make it into evidence for a certain lawsuit that's out there.
Well, we kind of slipped that in there a little bit, and they did not get out before the everything was going on. You're right. I don't know if Richard's going to reach out to me. I'd really like to know kind of where that stands. Do you have any update on that case, by the way?
Yeah, it's filed. It's not going to go to trial till next spring, and with
Next
COVID,
spring.
it probably got bumped back a little bit later.
Well, I think
But
that
it is still moving forward.
I think the only strategy that Mark has is to keep putting it off as much as he can, as long as he can.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's on the docket for next spring, 2021. But
Is Mark
but to see
Zaid still representing him?
as far as I know, him and another, he's part of a team of people. The last I'd heard, and that's been months and months ago now. It's kind of lost its fire, but it's going to kick back up once it actually starts.
Sure it will. Have you ever looked at that guy Mark Zaid's Twitter feed? It's a clown show. He's a clown.
Well, I've looked at his YouTube channel, and that's interesting because it was like
the Disney
a couple
princesses.
legal videos. Yes. Gosh. And I'm like, at first I was like, okay, this is kind of weird and skeevy. But then I started looking at my YouTube channel after letting my son use my phone for a couple of days during the week. And all of a sudden I've got these Super Mario SG64 videos. I'm like, I don't want this in my feed. What is this?
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe his daughter was looking up stuff. So I'm gonna let him slide.
I think that's that's very plausible. That's very.
It makes
plausible.
much more sense.
He's smart not to even address it though, whether she did or didn't, right? Because
Yeah.
who would believe it if he said that? And I don't know if he's got a daughter. The next thing you know,
doesn't matter.
they would all be looking. I mean, the cancel culture thing, I'm kind of tired of. Even on our side of the fence, I'm kind of tired of that too. And I really wanted to ensure that we're not really trying to do cancel culture. We're not trying to get anybody canceled. But I think I mentioned this last time, we're just kind of holding up a mirror, right? Somebody calling you a bunch of names, being able to hold up a mirror to them and say, you're the one that's spewing hate. Quit calling me a hater.
Right.
I think that's what we're doing with this article. I think I'm hoping, one thing that was brought out is after the Mark Wade lawsuit was filed in this article, Penny makes a great observation that things really got quiet for 2019 and now they're ramping back up. I would like for things to quiet back down after this. I mean, we're just bringing a little light on the subject, which is disinfectant, right? The cockroaches tend to run when you turn the lights on. At least that's the way it was in my old apartment. And I'm hoping that's what happens now. Now they may go and dig deeper or dig deeper holes. I will say we've got new stuff coming out. Real new. Don't know when. I mean, I have noticed a lot of people like, when's the next installment, right?
Yeah.
It'll be ready when it's ready,
And we'll be here when it is. But
I just want it to be right. I want it to be something.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't want to falsely accuse anybody of anything. I want to be able to vet as much of it as I can, and also make sure that Penny is keeping everything above board. So we're going to keep on doing what we're doing for as long as.
It was very revealing, though, the coordination that did go on for the attacks on Richard's Patreon. That was before Richard closed his Patreon for issues with Patreon itself. But they were like, well, we can't seem to get it closed for hate. And then somebody piped up, and you've got the screenshots in your article. Hey, tell them you're filing a complaint for copyright, because copyright's something they act on. They don't even question it. YouTube's the same way. You tell YouTube, hey, this is a copyright strike. YouTube will issue the strike, and they'll shoot first and ask questions later on that. And the same thing was happening to Richard's YouTube channel back on Thanksgiving of 2018, when people expected Richard to be having Thanksgiving with his family and his kids. Mags Asagio and Kwanzaa Osajefu conspired together to strike his YouTube channel for copyright complaints, because they dug back for 2-year-old, 3-year-old videos, and YouTube went strike. And it was like he got notices, and he said, YouTube's policy, you get 3 strikes. your channel's dead. You can't resurrect it. It's gone. So it was a quick.
And that's what
push
they did to
fix that.
Dan Fraga, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's a technique, and it's going to keep working as long as YouTube allows it. YouTube really
And it's
needs
easy
to
with
say,
YouTube right now.
Right. YouTube needs to make it more difficult because this is going on. The cancel culture has found a new weapon, and we've just showed more evidence that they use it. They're not ashamed to conspire together because the same person can't strike you 3 times. The reason you would collude to get someone's channel knocked out is because you need more than one person, or you're not smart enough to say, well, I'll do it on my work computer with this. And you know what I mean? I mean, there's ways around it. One person could potentially do it.
And I don't know who the third person they would have had to get struck, but if you look at the timeline of events, it was Richard C. Meyer sues Mark Wade, Kwanzaa and Mags strike his channel, Mark Wade hires Kwanzaa and Mags to H1. And that was within a 3-month span of.
Did he hire Mags for humanoids?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
He hired her at the same time he hired Kwanzaa.
How's humanoids doing?
Oh, who knows? I've never seen a paper copy in any comic store I go to.
I never see them on the charts either.
No. So they're not.
How's
not charting very
Lionforge
well.
doing? Didn't Gail get hired to be the architect of their shared universe? How's Lionforge doing?
She did. That happened before or after they filed bankruptcy and got absorbed into Oni. Because that's the last I remember is Lionforge kind of disappeared and they're just kind of a sub brand of O&I now. Chris, I've lost your audio. Oh, it's back.
How about now?
Yep. You coughed it clean.
I'm sorry. Didn't Oni just get absorbed too by somebody, or?
It's hard to keep track of. I'm still trying to figure out who runs IDW these days.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's the janitor's job now. I'm not sure.
Even nobody's better than Chris Ryall. I'm going to say it. You know, he's some sort of favored son in the industry, but I haven't been impressed with anything Chris Ryall's done. Can you tell me something he's done that you've been super impressed with?
Not a bit. I mean, I've seen things from IDW that I've really liked. I think they were excellent when it came to intercompany license crossovers.
Yes.
They
get good licenses, no doubt.
Yeah. Their Star Trek Green Lantern crossovers, I got both of those. I thought those were just great.
Did you get the Planet of the Apes
I didn't get that one.
with Star Trek?
No,
it was great.
I didn't get that one.
It was great.
And I did get the Star Trek Legion of Superheroes one. I thought that was a fun one.
That was great. I actually got that in hardcover, but that's been many years.
Many years. So, typical is, what have you done for me lately? But just to,
I know what he's done. He flushed IDW down the toilet.
Yeah,
they've been struggling.
I mean, they're millions of dollars in debt anyway.
Yeah.
I should check that PPP list that Bleeding Cool put out to see how much they applied for in those loans, those COVID loans.
Oh, you did?
Enough to get them out of debt. Well, I'm sure they were on the list. Every publisher out there applied for a loan and got money because it's government public record. You can see how much they applied for. San Diego Comic-Con applied for a couple of million, and that's like your con was virtual this year. It cost you to put on your con what it costs me to stand here talking an hour to you.
It's a virtual con. It's the Critical Blast Con. Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't have to rent the stadium, guys. Come on.
I get the virtual. I mean, I get that because in my industry, people they're communicating with video, and I try to pride myself.
Yeah. But nobody goes to the conventions for the panels. They go to the conventions to meet the guy and say, "Can you sign my book?"
Well, and you can go to the panels and they're cool, but it's just not the same. I mean, that's almost akin to saying, "Hey, we're going to go see the Eagles or the Doobie Brothers or Nirvana." Well, not Nirvana, but Foo Fighters. So I got tickets to see Foo Fighters that got rescheduled for October. If someone said to me, "I just watched a DVD," Just watch it streaming.
Exactly.
Give me a break. It's not
Not
at
the
all
same
the
thing.
same. No, I mean, there's
No.
an electricity at a con, and just the act of walking by the other booths and checking out artists that you've never seen. That's not going to happen at a virtual con, period. Artist Alley,
Exactly.
you can't experience Artist Alley on a virtual con. I mean, you can try.
I mean, yeah, I would probably like to watch some people in panels and hear and
Yeah.
talk to them. But what you can't do, the con experience is so that you can come home and say, I was in the same room with
Look at
Jim
you.
Aparo and Shelley
Oh, that's
Maldoff
awesome.
and Dick Giordano and Julius Schwartz and Denny O'Neil and Steve Englehart. My God, I think Dave Dorman and Steve Englehart are the only two still alive out of this list here. And Dave Dorman,
That's awesome.
who signed the inside.
You have just demonstrated one of the most entertaining aspects of being a comic book collector, and that's being able to show off something you've got that you treasure. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, that's so wonderful.
I will never get rid of that book.
Of course not.
I remember talking to Shelley Maldoff. This was at Chicago Comic Con 1988, maybe 87. I don't know exactly which year, but that time period. And it was about the same time that DC was kicking off another Justice Society JSA run. And Shelley Maldoff was not in Artist Alley. He was in like a side room around the corner with like a couple of other people. No line, nothing. And I'm like, I didn't even know you were alive, not to be beating it, not to put you down here, sir, but why aren't you doing JSA? And his wife was like, why don't you tell DC that?
No kidding. It's like they put these greats out to pasture. Oh, you got some great comments I've been seeing here from Heroinberg and Troy and Ghost of Limestad. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah. Oh, Troy is a 20-year plus friend of mine. He actually co-authored a book with me for Telos Publishing, Time Hunter, which was
sweet.
A Doctor Who spinoff that they got.
Okay.
They had the rights to Doctor Who, and then BBC said, hey, we're doing television again, so copyright in Britain being what it is, they said, okay, the last Doctor Who novel we do, we're going to spin off a character that we're going to own, and then we can continue publishing. So we did some time travel stories there. The Sideways Door,
had to have been better
Amazon.
than the last season of the Doctor Who, I'm sure of it.
Oh,
And Heroinberg,
so.
I saw that comment that you had put up from them. Guys, I see your email. It's in my inbox. I have not opened it yet because I've got this major project I'm working on through the weekend. I will look at it soon. Okay. Heroinberg.
Listen to this, Chris, if you can hear this. This is the cover.
Wow. Is that
how stiff that is?
110? What's the weight on that?
I don't know, but this is the inside front page.
My goodness. Wow.
This is the middle page.
Sounds well built.
It's entirely cover material.
Oh my gosh.
Book.
Wow.
I love it.
That's amazing.
You'd have to run over this with a car to take it out of mint condition.
Good job, gals. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Yeah, I've got the email. I'm one of these people, like right now, if I looked at my email, I mean, there are, I'll just say dozens of unread ones because I know as soon as I open it, it's going to go down the read area. And
yes,
like when I see it come in, doesn't mean that that's when I can respond. You know what I mean? Like I've got all these other, I feel like a juggler some days, right? And so you see the emails come in, it's like, oh yeah, I need to get to that, but I do not want to open it. Like sometimes I'll open it and then mark it unread so it stays up, right?
I do that a lot.
Oh my gosh, there's got to be a better way. If someone could just invent it or figure out cloning or something, or make there be an
use
AI.
Outlook?
No, I don't use Outlook.
Okay.
And I've seen that it wants to integrate with me, but I've got so many email accounts, RJ.
Yeah.
Do you use Outlook?
I can't get it mixed up with work. Yeah, I've got Outlook for work, and if I just click on it and the preview panel is there, it won't mark it as read as long as I'm previewing everything. But
I need to do that, but I mean, I just don't need another platform, honestly. So many new, Microsoft just rammed Edge down our throats a few weeks ago. And I'm like, guys, come on. I'm on my third or fourth browser now. Can we just leave it be? But you know what? I'm one of these cats too that I've got a few not plugins, whatever add-ons on my browser, and I've started noticing that it's glitching on a few things, and I'll go, well, let me open Edge up and see if it works in Edge, and of course it does. So I'll be making that transition soon.
To wrap things up, I guess.
Yeah,
Chris, so
good. I'm so tired. Thank you.
I'll get to bed tonight. You did a lot of moving today. I didn't mean to keep you so long. Recap the story out at Bleeding Fool, the Whisper Network Part 2. The link is in the description below. Heading things off, Stephanie Cook, who is a children's book editor, children's graphic novel editor, I believe, in Canada, still has an open investigation against her in Minnesota for accusations of $10,000 plus embezzlement against Bill Willingham, the writer of Fables, when she was his assistant. We have the
media buried it. Media buried that story.
We have the comments showing coordinated attacks prepared for Scott Snyder, which now will hopefully not be happening.
Yeah. You're welcome, Scott.
Yes. And we have the last bits there were coordinated attacks planned against Richard C. Meyer, his Patreon account, where they decided to go, change tactics from hate to copyright, which they found more effective. And there is more to come. Penny Parker.
More to come. And I think it's not necessarily the parsley on the plate, but maybe it's the after dinner mint to this dish would be, hey, Amy Chu. She's actually one of the leaders of this group. And
Amy Chu, who came out the last time the book. Yeah, the last article, Amy Chu said, I can guarantee you these people you're attacking are not the leaders of this Whisper Network. Well, that's right. She was the leader of the Whisper Network.
She wasn't lying,
she was
guys.
The admin.
Yeah, she was and still is. So we're digging a little deeper. We've got a few more rabbit holes we're going down. We got more to come. And I appreciate, RJ, so much you signal boosting it, reading it, being so supportive and encouraging. Just share it, read it. Really, what I want is I just want people to comment, and I mean they can share it if they want. It is what it is. It's out there. I expect that the Twitterati will be doing another legal ramifications of this article. I combed through it pretty good though, to ensure that we weren't speaking out of turn. But they may find something, and I'll just say this in response to that. Discovery will be very entertaining.
Oh, yes. That's why you'll just hear noises and not actuals.
Exactly. And believe me, I'm okay with it. I would be okay with it. If they want to sue us, I would totally be fine with it. I don't want that. I'd really rather people just answer to what they did instead of trying to destroy the messenger. You know what I mean? But if they want to sue us, Discovery will be entertaining. But I'm okay with it. I mean, we'll go through it. It'll be a headache. We'll come on and I'll do some shows about it. Whatever. As long as
we're going to embed this. We're going to embed this video in an article on the website. Just a short article that'll briefly introduce it. Link to it. Headline's going to be Stephanie Cook still accused of $10,000 embezzlement from Bill Willingham. That's going to get on Google News. So.
Ooh, that's a great. Bill Willingham affirms. Yeah, this is. Penny actually, now the last time Penny didn't really get into the social media part, but I think she wanted to emphasize that, and maybe you could include this in your headline, Tarkaris with Image. Now I had not heard of this book, but apparently that's Stephanie Cook's book, Tarkaris. Have you heard of this?
I have not heard of that. I didn't think she was doing any comic books right now.
I didn't either, and Penny laid that on me at the last second, and I was only able to get it into the. It came out in February. Tarkaris #1.
I'm making notes.
I'm hearing a choo-choo train. Is that Darth Vader?
No, I heard a little child's voice.
Oh my gosh. You know what it is? Hang on. Goodness gracious. It's my browser.
Do you have something open in your browser?
Man, I had something open that was playing some hip-hop beats. I don't know what it was, but it had to go.
Don't show us your tabs. We don't need another Kurt Henteichenwald episode.
Man, I've got 40 freaking tabs open, too. It's crazy. So Luckily, I didn't close the tab we're in. I just closed my other browser. So look up Tarkaris. I don't know if it's worth
I'll do that.
mentioning in your article, but I didn't mention it in mine. So that might be a nice little nugget to add on. I'll give you that.
I will do that. Everybody in the chat, we appreciate you coming here. Chris, definitely appreciate you coming by, especially on the day of release. I know you've got to be hit up by at least a dozen other people who want to talk to you further about this. Appreciate you coming to us for it. Folks in the chat, we do have, these pretty little holographic 3-inch stickers with the Critical Blast logo on it. If you want one of those, it's very easy to get. Just, send us a self-addressed stamped envelope to Critical Blast at 1097 Prestwick Drive, Belleville, Illinois, 62221. I'm not going to leave that up there, so catch it on the replay. And we'd be happy to just, slide one of these into an envelope. And I guarantee you, when you get your envelope, you'll probably get 2 of them, so you can give one to a friend. With that, Chris, go get some rest, man. You've had a busy day, and you're going to wake up to a lot of tweets and DMs tomorrow. So
they're here already, but I'm going to send you a quick link in the private chat just so you see that for later, RJ. But man, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, RJ. Love what you do, and we'll talk soon.
We will do that, my friend. Thank you again for coming on, and can't wait to see the next one.
Whisper Network 3.
Whispers are getting louder.